ready. Okay, audio check, testing, 1, 2, 3. See if my audio is fine before we get into this. All right, we're going to try this again. We're going to see. Hi, Maddie. Hi, Wendy.
Hello.
Hello?
Hi.
Okay. Now, give me an audio check. Give me an audio level before we start. Say something.
Hello, hello. Can you people hear me now?
Anybody? Okay, so give me an... Okay, I'm good. That's great. So, okay, good. All right, so we're better.
There we are.
Okay, so wonderful, wonderful. All right, so let's start this over again because I'm going to record it and we need it to be good. So, thank you for joining me. This is Transfigure Nation. I'm your host, Alexis Lorraine, and tonight my special guest is Shannon. Shannon is an amazing presence on Instagram and social media in general, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. But, you know, before we get started, she is an amazing person that I met in Philadelphia, and she has so much beautiful, wonderful, happy energy, and having her in my life has been a gift. So, Shannon, please, by all means, introduce yourself once again for the people who weren't here last time.
Absolutely. Let's try this again. My name is Shannon McDill. I am, amongst other things, a YouTuber and also the co-host of the podcast Our Life in Transition, which I host with my wife, Rachel. I'm super duper active here on Instagram. If any of you have been following the Transition Tuesday posts, any of you post that, I usually hunt you down and repost all of your beautiful pictures because I want to make sure that everybody gets to see them every week because the algorithm's fun and it's hard to find people. So I want to make sure that everybody gets out there and gets shared.
And we'll go over how that works and how to make your life simpler. That if you want to continue doing this, you can help Shannon by using the appropriate hashtags. All right. So, and we're going to get back to that. We're going to get to our life in transition. We're going to get back to Transition Tuesday. We're going to get to all of that stuff. But first, I think everybody needs to know a little bit more about you. So, for example, at what point did you realize you were trans? Is this something you've always known? Is it something that came up late in life? I mean, not all of us were so keyed in, so.
Yes and yes.
Yes.
A lot of people have one of two stories. Either they say, I've always known, or I never knew and I figured it out later. It just occurred to me. I'm one of those cases where I knew something was very, very wrong for a very long time, and I didn't know what it was. I couldn't put my finger on it. And it wasn't really until I was an adult that I kind of said, I keep thinking about what it would be like to be a girl a lot. And later on, I finally put two and two together. A little over, I guess it was 13 years ago now, I had what I described to my doctor as a little experimental phase. I did a tryout for a little while when I was by myself for a few months. And then I did what a lot of us do, and I panicked and threw away all my clothes and the wig that I bought, and then I put it in a nice little box for about a decade, and then eventually the box started leaking out, and here I am.
I like the description as it was leaking out. That's a really good metaphor. When we try to push things down and stuff them away, it never works. I mean, it never works. So, sorry, I'm just changing some settings for trying to get some light balance in here. Okay.
You can do it.
It doesn't work. What were the symptoms that you started to realize that it wasn't staying sealed in that little box? What was coming up? What was happening?
was one of those things where when I did my little experimental phase, I was already married. My wife and I had gotten married about 6 or 7 months beforehand. We were still both in college. She was in graduate school, and I was in my senior year. And I was taking some summer classes, and she came down, to work down the shore by where her parents are for a couple months. And when I put it back in that little box, I just kept always wanting to go back to that. And really, I was trying to do it for our sake, because I just felt, our marriage was going to blow up. But I kept thinking about it. I kept thinking about it constantly. And the one thing that kind of really kind of pried the box open was at Halloween, she got a really nice Wonder Woman costume, which I was trying to help her fix her wig and get it looking just perfect, because, I'm a comic book geek and it's got to look right. But the entire time we were at our Halloween party, I was just kind of mad that she got to wear that and I didn't get to be Wonder Woman. And then afterwards, she just had her wig from her costume was laying around, and I said, well, there's a wig here again. So, why don't I just start dressing a little bit while I'm at home by myself? It's no harm, no foul. It's not going to bother anybody. But, when I saw myself in the mirror, it felt right and felt like me. And I didn't have that that kind of feeling of the disassociative feeling that I would have sometimes seeing the wrong person in the mirror.
Okay. And my light balance is going all over the place. So, this is just going to be an interesting episode. I'm having, it's like a clubbing here.
Do you want like a regular episode? I mean, this is the episode with me. It's got to be exciting.
It's got to be this episode with you. Well, yesterday was signal issue, so I'm trying a different device to try and record, but its color balance is a little messed up. So, anyway, let's try this again. We'll just single light source might help. Okay, so, okay. So, you had these little moments of realizing that you knew what you really needed.
Yeah.
Now, you were already married at this point, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
How did that go?
For 20 years.
First off, how did you finally come out, and how did that go over?
Well, the first time, right after we first got married, I just told her what was going on, because I'm, crap at keeping a secret, first of all. And so I told her about that, and I was like, it was just a phase, I think, because it was bugging me, and she could tell that something was wrong. And then this time, she came in one day and was like, whose underwear is that? Is that my underwear? I was like, no, it's mine. And she was like, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, that thing that I said was just a phase. It wasn't a phase. So we had a very candid conversation after that.
And how did it go? I mean, obviously, you're... I mean, we know the ending, but,
yes.
How did that conversation go? I mean, I would have been mortified if I'd had that conversation.
I was mortified. It was a tense conversation, to be honest. And I mean, even then, I was kind of trying to figure out what was going on with me. And at that point, I was like, I guess I'm gender fluid, maybe. And she was like, okay. And I was kind of trying to compromise again, because I didn't want to destroy my life. And so I was saying, well, maybe just when I'm home, I'll dress, and that'll be okay. And it was the biggest point that she kept asking me was like, well, do you not want to be with me anymore? And I said, no, I don't. That has nothing to do with it. This isn't about, how I feel about you. This is about how I feel about myself. And it was an awkward, tense conversation, but it was a conversation that progressed over the course of a year. Because that was in 2006. I didn't actually come out to everybody else until the end of 2017. So it was a very, piecemeal, let's work through this. And, like I said, we've been together for 20 years. So neither of us are, real quick to be like, well, screw this, let's get out.
Right.
I'm just gonna leave. And so we were both committed to working it out, but, it took a lot of time. The big little twist was about a week later, she found out she was pregnant. So, yeah, that kind of complicated things a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, that does take off the table the whole infertility part. It's like, okay, well, you've got one now.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like where you guys wanted to stop or anything like that, and we don't need to go into that because that is awfully personal. But yeah, it's amazing how things just constantly jump up into our faces when we're trying to be ourselves. It just trying to come out and be yourself, and okay, well, yeah, we have the conversation. Oh, now there's a baby. Okay, and then there's always something. So,
well, the one thing I always said to her about that was that because it took us a while. We'd been married for 10 years before that happened. It was literally a week before our 10th anniversary, and I had said to her for years, because she was like, I guess it's just not going to happen. I don't know. And I kept saying, it'll happen when the time's right. And the time just happened to be when I was figuring out myself, I guess. I don't know. It was weird timing, but it worked out.
Well, and I'm glad, and I'm sure you're glad, because we love our kids.
Yeah.
Our kids. It's like as much as my kids make me crazy, I wouldn't trade them.
Yeah, absolutely not.
And and all the things in life that lead up to having our kids is another thing. It's like when people ask me, it's like, well, would you have transitioned earlier? I was like, if I would have, then I wouldn't have my two wonderful children. So it's like there's a reason for me.
Absolutely.
That's the reason for me. Don't get me wrong. I would love to have transitioned before puberty, so I don't have all the masculine things to deal with. But I got off pretty lucky, so I'm not going to complain. Okay, so now talking about you coming out to your wife, how's the rest of your family? First off, do you still have are your parents still around? Do you have siblings? And if so, how did coming out to them? How did that go?
Well, what I actually wound up doing was, first of all, we had to get, ourselves sorted out between my wife and I. And then, right after our daughter was born, okay, we got to deal with that first. And then we need to start working on me coming out. And so I started coming out to some close friends and some family that I call them soft targets, people that I really kind of assume would be fine. I had a lot of people who were going, I didn't see this coming. I had some people who were said, well, when you were a kid, I thought you were gay before you started going out with Rachel. So, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what I was seeing. They were right, but they just didn't know how. As far as, most of my family, most of my family's been pretty good. I've had one person who really just, had a really negative reaction. and I haven't talked to them since. But that was the only person, fortunately. Some other people have had some tough times dealing with it, but they haven't been nasty to me. It's just kind of been a process of them trying to figure it out. So, I mean, my brothers are really supportive. My one brother is, if anybody says anything about me or to me, he's like a pit bull. He goes right after them. And unfortunately, my mom is not around it. So my mom passed a couple years before this, but and my dad, when I came out to him, it's taken him some time to try to wrap his head around it. But the one thing he said to me was, "You don't got to worry about me. Don't worry about me. Whatever you need to do, you do." But it's an alien concept for him, so he's okay. But it's just sometimes he gets things a little bit wrong, but that's okay. It is what it is.
There's also there's a rule of like 1 month for every 5 years of knowing somebody. I don't know. There's a timeline that I heard in Philly. Depending on how long someone's known you, is how long they have to get your pronouns correct.
Yeah.
With parents, especially if you're our age, that might take a little while. It's not like they're being deliberately, they're not doing it deliberately. It's just, decades of practice are not undone quickly. So,
yeah.
But it's nice that you still have him in your life. I mean, a lot of us don't have that. So that's at least that. And I'm sorry to hear about your mother.
Yeah, I mean that's the one big regret too, is that I didn't really get to share this with her. When I first came out and I brought up that point to my one cousin, she said, "Well, is she now?" Because my mom and I were super close, and it was
right.
We had that kind of mother-daughter relationship to begin with. So I mean, and I know she would have been fine about it. But I'm a little sad about that, but it is what it is.
Yeah. But I mean, it's nice that you had that relationship beforehand. I mean, again, there's so many people that I've spoken with that have had to do without that relationship.
Yeah.
So even though she's not around now, I'm sure she, wherever she's at, she's looking down on you going, "You get it, girl." So, so that's amazing. Now, what do you do for a living? What's your work that you do?
My work, what I actually make money doing is I work at a spa. I am not a massage therapist. I am not an esthetician. I'm the person at the front desk that says hi when you come in. But that's what I'm currently doing. Well, that's what I'm employed doing. But obviously, right now,
obviously not.
World's on fire, and I'm not working. So, but that's what I do in my day to day.
Okay, so coming out with your work, I suppose the spa wouldn't be necessarily a bad place for coming out, but how was your experience coming out of work, and how did you manage it?
I was actually fortunate. So when I actually first came out, I was between jobs. So I had 2 jobs in between. So for the first few months after I came out, I was actually just at home taking care of our munchkin, because my wife is a manager at a retail store, and she had to go back to work. So I was a stay-at-home mom for about 6 months. And then when she was old enough to go to daycare, I actually went and I worked for a campaign to get somebody elected to Congress, which worked, which was very nice. And then, of course, November 6th of 2018, I was out of a job again. So then a few months later, I started working at the spa. And, some people knew right away. I'm always surprised because I'm always expecting people to clock me. And a lot of people there haven't. And I'll say something about being trans because I'm very open about it. And the one question that I get sometimes is people will ask me, "Oh, okay, well, you have a wife. Which one of you carried your daughter? Did you?" And I'll say, "No, it wasn't me, but thank you. I appreciate the compliment."
Yeah, that is certainly that is a passing privilege right there. That immediate, that just says, okay, everybody sees you as a woman now. There's no, okay, you're trans. It's no, they just see you as a woman, which is nice. I have several friends who are like that. I'm hoping maybe someday, but we'll get there. So that's amazing, and we won't talk politics because I don't talk politics on the show, and I don't talk religion on the show. We can talk about faith and their spirituality and things like that, but we don't talk about religion. We don't talk about politics, even though I have very strong opinions, and I personally worked on a gubernatorial campaign in Connecticut. So he lost.
It's a fun job.
Well, he won the second time, though. Anyway, but that's amazing that you're active. Do you still volunteer or participate in the political process at all?
I mean, as much as I can. I'm a very big keyboard warrior,
Okay.
But I don't have as much time as I'd like. We'll see. Maybe I'll be able to volunteer some while I'm sitting at home, twiddling my thumbs and watching
You've
Netflix.
got plenty of time, right?
Yeah.
And just because the time, just because the we're all stuck at home, some of us are stuck at home, the elections are still coming,
Yeah.
It might be postponed, whatever, but, they're still going to happen. So by all means, you should, get involved. Whoever you support, as long as it's not who, it's fine with me. And you should
Voldemort is a terrible politician.
Pardon?
So Voldemort is a terrible politician. You're right.
Yes, Voldemort is a terrible politician, but he's a darn good dictator. Okay. So let's talk about a little bit about Transition Tuesday.
Sure.
Now, you were not the first person to post all of the Transition Tuesday pictures.
I was not.
And so do you know who the first person was?
I don't know who the first person was. The first person that I saw doing it was Megan Bow.
Yes, Megan Bow was the one that you saw.
Yeah, she
I was having
was
a
doing
conversation with Samantha, and she was like, "Yeah, well, I started it, so." She always needs credit. So just I wanted to put it out there.
Okay.
Now, why did you take that mantle on? That is a lot of work.
Well, what I was, when Megan was doing it, I was following it every week and going and looking at all the people that she was posting and going and finding people and following people. And then I said, this is a really good idea. I wonder how many other people are out there that she's not necessarily finding and posting. Because, she would do a lot of if I don't see you, message me.
Right.
But then there were ones that I would see that I guess, I don't know if they don't follow Megan and they didn't know that she's doing this, or Megan just didn't see them. I'm like, well, I'll share it. And then at some point, Megan, as happens, got a little burnt out doing it and she stopped. But I really liked that being a thing. And so I said, well, I'm just going to keep doing it. And I just kept on going.
I have to say, and it's grown. It's grown so much in the time that you've been doing it. I remember when you first started, because I remember when Megan was doing it, and then I saw yours pop up a few times, for a few people. And then yours just kept getting bigger and bigger. The list of people that you were tagging was getting longer and longer. And now you're actually going so far that you're running out of room, right?
Yeah, there's been
one time a few weeks ago.
I've maxed out. Yeah. Because Instagram, I think, will only allow you to post like 100 stories in a day, and then they start deleting your old ones. So what I've started to do, if I actually find that many people on a Tuesday, is that I'll be like, okay, I've maxed out. I'll count. I try to keep counting. When I get to like, close to 100, I'm like, okay, everybody go over to the podcast Instagram. I'm going to keep doing it over there.
Right. And I saw that, and you're amazing. So much work. I honestly, as the names just kept popping up, and what's funny is that I follow so many of them, but not everybody, and I still find new people in your list of Transition Tuesday. Now, tell me about the challenge of finding everybody, though. It would be nice and easy if everybody used the hashtag Transition Tuesday. Unfortunately, they don't. So how do you manage with that?
Okay, so there's a couple different hashtags people use. Specifically for Tuesday, what a lot of people do is they put hashtag Transition Tuesday or hashtag Transformation Tuesday, which is great. Those are both great hashtags. The problem with the Transformation Tuesday is that's also the same hashtag used by everybody who's lost a pound or two in the past 5 years. So everybody that's exercising and losing weight, or they got a new haircut or something, on Tuesday will go, it's Transition Tuesday, or it's Transformation Tuesday. And so it's hard to find people who just use that hashtag. So what I've started doing is going and finding other hashtags. Usually all the hashtags you'll see under my post are what I go and try to find. So I'll go and look hashtag transgender, hashtag transgender woman, hashtag transgender man, hashtag MTF, hashtag FTM. Just anything that I could possibly think of that somebody might be posting if they're trans as a hashtag, I go and I look that up and try to find somebody doing a transformation post.
So the point of this, folks, and the reason I bring it up is if Shannon is doing all of this wonderful activist work for our community, stop making it hard on her. If you want your Transition Tuesday post to be posted, use the hashtag Transition Tuesday. Not Transition Tuesdays, not Transformation Tuesday. I mean, you can use those hashtags, that's fine, but also include Transition Tuesday so that she can find them more easily and not spend half her day with this project. Actually, even though, what are you going to do on Tuesday now?
But if you can make it easier, that'd be great.
Right. Now, I have to talk about this because it is literally my favorite part of Tuesday. My favorite part of Tuesday. Every Tuesday, I'm waiting for your picture to pop up so I can click on it and see you do your introduction story. Where did that come from?
One day I just decided to post a little intro before I posted my photo and started posting everyone else's photos. I don't even remember what the first one was because I didn't save it. I don't know if I might have been getting ready and shaving, or I might have been drinking my coffee. I don't know, but I was just
it's one or the other. I'm pretty sure it's one of those two because I remember both. Well, I mean, you've been drinking coffee in some of them, but I remember early on, like the first couple of ones, there was one shaving and then there was one with coffee. But I'm sorry, keep going.
I don't know. So I started doing that, and I was like, what should I say? I'm like, hey, it's Transition Tuesday or something, and I just went, that's Tuesday. And so I just looked in the camera and just went, it's Tuesday. That was it.
Thank you for doing that. Because
you got it.
I don't know what it is about the joy in your expression and in your voice, but when you do, it's Tuesday. It just brightens my whole morning. It just completely illuminates my whole morning, and it is such a joy for me. So please don't stop. I mean, if you have to, Stop, I get it. But I love the things that you've come up with. How do you keep coming up with all these different ways of doing it? You know, it's like you'll have just, you'll be outside, or, you'll be in the bathroom, or you cup of coffee, or how do you keep coming up with new ways to do it?
Sometimes I think of it ahead of time. Usually it's just kind of on the fly, because it's usually when I'm getting ready in the morning, whatever I'm doing. Sometimes I'm running around and I don't get to do it until I'm getting ready to walk into work, and I'm walking across the parking lot, and, I'm going into work, and I'm miserable. I'm like, yeah, it's Tuesday. And it's just kind of on the fly. I don't know.
Okay.
Whatever comes to mind.
But definitely the work that you've done on Transition Tuesday to, help bring attention to less followed trans individuals on Instagram is amazing. Because, when you're putting, these transition pictures alongside people like Megan or Erica or Samantha or Kayla or Miss Nuclear or all these other these people that have huge followings, it does get them some attention, because these people are going through and they're like, oh, look at all these people. Oh, hey, who's this? I don't follow them. And it's a great service for these less well-known trans figures that are trying to make their way in the world. And it's I think it's very helpful for these folks to have that visibility. And it's part of the reason I do this show too, is because I want to talk to people that aren't getting all the attention, We've got shows to talk to people who are super popular and super famous and everything. Trans IRL can take care of that. Transfigure Nation is all about the everyday girl or boy or non-binary individual. We'll talk to them. So, but thank you so much for the work you're doing on that. Now,
Well, you're welcome.
I want to talk a little bit about Our Life in Transition. How long have you been doing that? Like, what episode are you on? And
So we did 12, 13, episode 12, I think, in season 1. So we started the end of May, beginning of June last year. And now we just recorded episode 4 of season 2. It's been a fun little journey. It's something that I think I do a lot of advertising for. A lot of people that see the post associate them with me. I don't think I'm the star of that podcast. I give all the credit to my wife, because she's a different person when she's on that podcast. She's hilarious. I hit record and she starts going. So we're about 16 episodes in, and it's one of my favorite things to do.
so, hold on one second. Just need to get rid of that comment. There we go. Okay. So, how did it get started? We'll come back to like all of the web address and everything for it, and I'll include that in the Transfigure Nation YouTube page and on the Transfigure Nation page for the header for this episode. But what was the genesis of it? What initiated this desire to share such a challenge?
It was a couple of things. So, first of all, there's a lot of other podcasts out there. There are even some podcasts with some people who are couples that are about trans issues. But one of the big questions that we kept getting when I first came out was, why did my wife say? People couldn't wrap their heads around it. People would go, okay, Shannon's trans, fine. What's going to happen to Rachel? What's going to happen to the baby? And her answer kept being like, I don't know, what do you think's going to happen to me? Like, I'm going to stay right where I am. This is my person. Where'd I go? And so we realized that a lot of people just assumed that if one person in a marriage came out as trans, then that was it. It was over. And she and I are in some support groups together. And when we went to the first conference, the first wellness conference that we went to in Philly, she joined me on my YouTube channel and recorded a video about our experience there. And afterwards, she was like, "I really like this. We should do more videos together." And we really didn't. I don't think we did another one until this year, until we went to the conference again. But in the interim, I said, a lot of people have a lot of questions about what it's like when you're married and one of you is trans. And I can't tell you whose idea it was. I don't know if she thought of it first or I said it first. One of us at some point was like, just do a podcast about that. And then we looked into how to go about doing a podcast, and we just started recording.
I mean, it's a great idea. We see a lot of relationships failing during transition. You hear a lot about people that are like, "Oh, I came out and my spouse left me." Or it worked for a couple of years and then it fell apart. There are a lot of people that have that. So it's really nice to see, the dynamic you have between you and your person. I love that terminology. That dynamic that's between the two of you. It's not perfect. You two are human, but you are obviously invested in each other, and it's really wonderful and encouraging to see for those of us who are woefully single. That maybe there is a person out there who can love us for who we are. Sorry, I'm a little mopey. I'm tired of being single, so if anybody's looking, I have to plug myself. That's the only chance I get.
You do.
So, and what are some of your favorite memories from your podcast? Like, what kind of episodes have you done, and what were the highlights? If you were making a highlight reel from season 1 and what you've done for season 2 so far, what would those highlights be?
That's a good question. The biggest highlight, I think, was actually our second episode. And we talked about this in the first episode of this season. Because we just put this out there, and we see some people are listening to it. We're happy about that. But we don't necessarily get a lot of feedback about it. We get some people, that talk